Michelle Obama's fear campaign just collapsed. A rogue judge in Wisconsin helps a criminal illegal escape and still gets paid. And President Trump, he saw this coming a mile away and warned us what would have happened if he had lost. We're working on it, people, and growing the community. Please do us a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications because you're not going to want to miss a second of this. Roll that tape.
Hurry up.
There's so much bias and so much racism and so much ignorance that fuels those kind of choices. I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night.
I think she forgets a couple of things, Chief. One, her husband was called the deporter-in-chief. And two, she doesn't note that the people that are being deported right now are the worst of the worst, the criminals that have kind of made their way into this country illegally, sir.
So absolutely, you're absolutely right. Deporter-in-chief was the title that he was given. But I want to put this in perspective. Immigration enforcement does not see color. Immigration is a status. You are either a legal immigrant or an illegal alien. And to put it further into context, last year we apprehended and arrested people from over 145 different countries of all nationalities, creed, and colors.
ICE came into the house. There had been immigrants who had lived there, and they moved out a few weeks earlier. This family had just moved in. They came in, they made them go outside, including the girls were taken outside in their underwear. They took their money and their electronics. This is an American family. If that happened to
no one even believes your stories
yeah,
anymore.
and you know what? They rectified
always fall apart.
And by the way, let me tell you. Let me tell you what else.
What about the Maryland dad? Whatever happened to him?
That didn't fall apart. He's still in
He's
some
MS-13,
prison.
Jessica.
He is not.
And there are 2 orders of deportation on him. And he lied about being afraid to go back to El Salvador because he had to admit he was an MS-13 gang member.
Keep going back to one person that you think you have a case about. If someone dragged you out of your house in the middle of the night, you would kill somebody.
Why is she out here playing victim to the country that gave her and Barry Soetoro everything? The White House, her Ivy League dresses, and millions in book deals. But she claims she's scared. Nah. She ain't scared. That's what you call strategic fear baiting. Let me remind y'all and take a trip back in memory lane. Mr. Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro, deported more people than any other U.S. president. He wasn't referred to as the deporter-in-chief for nothing, but that's just surface level panic because right now, there is an actual judge under fire for helping a criminal avoid arrest. In this next clip, a judge was busted for helping an illegal alien avoid ICE.
The court tells us that the judge, Hannah Dugan, is not on administrative relief at this time, meaning that she is still receiving her salary despite the charges she's facing and despite another judge taking on her caseload while her own case plays out.
She didn't just look the other way. She actively left the bench, checked for agents, and then guided a criminal out the back door of her courtroom. And what happens next? Absolutely nothing. No firing, no unpaid leave. Right now, she's sitting at home with full benefits, courtesy of your taxes. And one would think this might be bad enough for the Democrats to condemn her. Nope, not at all. They threw her a parade. In this next feed, leftists called the judge a hero for obstructing justice.
She's now facing at least 6 years in prison for obstructing immigration officers and concealing a person to prevent arrest. But activists and local Democrats are not only protesting her arrest, they are applauding the judge for her actions.
When they went ahead and put handcuffs on our good friend Hannah Dugan, they put handcuffs on the judiciary.
We can see how law enforcement is trying to make the ordinary sound improper.
The country deserves an apology. And yes, Judge Hannah Dugan deserves an apology.
This is what happens when the justice system is overrun with activists in robes. This is what you call pure lunacy. They called arresting her a threat to democracy when she literally helped a violent criminal escape law enforcement. Let's make this plain and put it in perspective. If you or I did that, we would be in orange jumpsuits right now. But while the left is crying victim, Trump told us exactly what he planned to do if he won 2024 elections. And this is terrifying. In this next excerpt, President Trump and our country being flooded.
If we had not won the 2024 election, oh, does that sound good, right? We won the 24, all that work. The radical left Democrats would right now be importing the next 10 million invaders and giving amnesty to 30 or 40 million illegals, many of them criminals, many of them, frankly, murderers and people of crime at the absolute highest level. Real bad people. It would only be a matter of years or months until America itself became a failed third world nation.
This wasn't fear-mongering. It was a blueprint. Trump said they'd bring 10 million more in and give amnesty to 40 million already here. That's not a policy. That's an invasion. And Michelle's worried about ICE doing their job? Please. And it turns out this judge's criminal sympathies weren't a one-time fluke.
We've also learned, though, that in the weeks leading up to the judge's arrest, ICE had arrested 2 other illegal immigrants here at the Milwaukee County Courthouse, which apparently prompted Judge Dugan to post this notice on her courtroom door stating that anyone who feels unsafe coming to the courthouse can request to have their hearing held over Zoom. That notice is dated 4 days before Dugan allegedly guided an illegal immigrant facing battery charges through a back exit in her courtroom to avoid federal agents waiting to arrest him in the hallway outside. Witnesses say that after Dugan left the bench to confront those agents and tell them to go down the hallway into a separate office to meet with the chief judge, she, quote, walked around the hallway and appeared to be looking for additional agents before she returned to her courtroom, and then allegedly led the illegal immigrant through that back door. She's now facing at least 6 years in prison for obstructing immigration officers and concealing a person to prevent arrest.
She literally told everyone to avoid court if they felt unsafe. Right after ICE had arrested 2 other illegals at the same building. Then she personally escorts an illegal out the back door to dodge agents. Premeditated and planned. She was not upholding the law. She was sabotaging it. And while this plays out like an Atari, House Democrats are still out here defending the system that breeds it. In this next clip, a congresswoman defends illegal immigrants.
If they thought the first 100 days of chaos would break us, they were wrong. Because across this country, millions of us are standing up for our human rights and our democracy. Judges are fighting back to block these unconstitutional executive orders. Here in Congress, we are fighting back every single day. We are fighting to protect immigrant families from mass detention and deportation. We are fighting to prevent horrific cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and Social Security. It won't be easy, but we must continue to organize, to speak out, and to build a future that reflects our highest ideals.
They're not saying fix the system. They're saying burn it down. No border, no deportation, just benefits, bailouts, and permanent political power. That's the game. And it's the reason why the middle class keeps losing. The system wasn't built to protect you. It was built to protect them. So what's this open border experiment cost us? You already know. In this next piece, 53 million, yes, 53 million in prepaid cards to illegals.
When it comes to immigration enforcement, there is no doubt that Donald Trump has been successful. We can slice it any way we want to, but Joe Biden having an open border policy caused a lot of problems in this nation, particularly the psyche of American citizens. You cannot have folks crossing the border illegally in an undocumented fashion, thinking that that is going to bode well for American citizens. Whether it's courtesy of $53 million in prepaid credit cards that were doled out by the Adams administration, the mayor of New York, whether it's Gavin Newsom in the state of California indicating that there's some debt issues with Medicare because of the money that you spent on illegal immigration.
New York City gave $53 million in prepaid cards to illegals, funded by taxpayers who can barely pay their rent. Good old Gavin and California are drowning in Medicare debt, and they're blaming migrant health care costs. They say it's all about compassion, but it seems like it's all about collapse to me. And even liberal mouthpieces are starting to crack under this insanity. Watch this next clip of Stephen A. Smith discussing the American psyche.
Whether it's crimes in the streets, whether it's the perception that the streets are unsafe in the streets of America simply because of an immigration problem, you cannot have that. And the fact that Trump rolled up in there and cleaned this stuff up, prioritizing border control, definitely is going to be perceived as a plus, whether Democrats and others like it or not.
When you have Stephen A. Smith sounding more based than the GOP, you've got to know something's wrong. He said what millions were already thinking. Biden's border mess made America feel unsafe, and the gaslighting, it just made it worse. And while Trump's out here making real plans, the Democrats, they've just got TDS. In this next excerpt, the Democrats still have no plans, just hate for Trump.
I wonder, as you're looking at Democrats right now and moving into the rest of the year and next year, how you think they are doing at this point in time.
I think they've done a fantastic job at protesting Trump, and I think ultimately at the ballot box, it means very little. And so what I think Democrats are going to have to do is define an alternative. What is their position on taxes? What is their position on tariffs? And just screaming no to everything Trump does isn't going to work. You remember it very well. When I was up on Capitol Hill with Leader Cantor, we were defined as the party of no for a long time, and that didn't go very far. It wasn't until we started defining our own agenda, our own alternatives to big initiatives like Obamacare. And even though those weren't going to pass the House of Representatives, it did give voters a clear choice and a clear alternative when it came to the ballot box. Historically, the president in the midterms is going to lose seats. Republicans don't have a lot of ground to lose there. So do Democrats, how are they going to pivot off things like tariffs? How are they going to pivot off of taxes? How are they going to pivot off of growing global uncertainty with our allies and strategic adversaries alike to provide voters with an alternative? And the alternative really can't be a continuation of the Biden-Harris policies that failed. So really, what are they going to do, and who is going to be the voice?
They've been screaming no for 8 years, and they still can't tell you what they're for. Nothing on taxes, nothing on trade, nothing on security. Just Orange Man bad, stuck on repeat. Voters aren't stupid. They want solutions, not TikTok tantrums. And when the left runs out of solutions, what do they always reach for? The race card. Watch this next feed when a caller says conservatives want Jim Crow back.
John is in Plainfield, New Jersey, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, John.
Hi, ma'am. Why me as an African American to trust conservative media and Donald Trump? I just don't think y'all fair, and I personally feel that you want to bring back Jim Crow. And why should we trust you? Will you ever do a story in the black community or talk to black leaders that you might not agree with to find some common ground?
All right, let's let Amber respond.
Yes, we absolutely have covered stories in the black community. And I would pose a question back to you. What is it about the Daily Caller that makes you think we're trying to bring back Jim Crow? Because, as you can imagine, that's a pretty heavy accusation.
Because of some of your attitudes about us.
Like what?
And I think some of the things about DEI.
John, can you give a specific example for Amber?
Like what's going on with the Black History Museum and Trump trying to take it down, and other things about black books and other things like that.
So, John, the president hasn't said that he's planning to shut down the African American History Museum.
I just want you to know those rumors are going on.
This guy says conservatives want Jim Crow back because we criticize DEI and defend the rule of law. Meanwhile, they can't name a single policy. They've got no receipts, just vibes and victimhood. You want to have a real conversation? Cool, great, let's do it. But don't come in with nonsense and expect to be taken seriously. The bottom line is Michelle Obama's out here pretending to be scared while elite judges are committing real crimes and getting cheered on for it. The Democrats don't want law and order. They want power, and by any means necessary. But the tides are turning and the lies, they're collapsing, and Americans are waking up. If you're done being lied to and ready to take your country back, you're in the right place. If you're still here, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Thank you. God bless.
Listen.